Right now, it is time to bring in Arthur Schwartz, our food maven. That's right. Arthur joins us every Monday morning at this time and talks food. And there's no better way to start the week than to talk food. Good morning, Arthur.
Well, as long as it's cold food. My cleaning woman came on Saturday, and she noted that you can turn. Let me just say, on my stove, you can turn everything off so you can clean it, and you don't, accidentally put something on.
Yeah.
So she locked everything. It took in 2 weeks. It was still locked, so proving that I had not turned the oven on in 2 weeks.
But you know what I did yesterday? Somebody
What'd you do?
bought to me a whole bunch of homegrown tomatoes, small, big.
Wow.
And I put them on in a big Le Creuset pot with some garlic and with some celery and with some Italian seasonings, and I put it on in such low heat that
Well, yes, and I used to make I haven't made it this year. So let's start with the tomatoes.
Okay.
I'm in total agreement with you. If you've got good tomatoes, you don't need any. Yeah, I don't even need to turn the heat on. I like a raw sauce. Crudaiola. So have I mentioned that I had these two 19-year-old Italian boys staying?
yes.
Yeah. So Gaetano, who I've known since he was born, and Carlo, his college roommate. So Carlo is from Palermo and is a real Italian boy. They were here 5 weeks. By the end of the 5 weeks, we were asking Gaetano, listen, I know your heritage here, but are you really Italian? The kid won't eat raw tomato. He doesn't really like pasta that much. He'll only eat a little bit. The list goes on of really Italian things that he won't eat. And of all things, I made salad, and he said, well, I don't eat salad. I said, what? How could you not eat? He says, only iceberg lettuce. So that got me going, because I love iceberg lettuce. I know it's not fashionable. It hasn't been since like 1960, the year of my bar mitzvah. It has not been the lettuce you're supposed to eat if you're a, quote, gourmet. Who started that business was, in my life and in my lifetime, I think I could put the blame on Craig Claiborne, who detested iceberg lettuce and promoted every other lettuce that we had in the market, which wasn't that many in the 60s. It was romaine. I guess if you lived in Kentucky, you got Bibb lettuce, named after Colonel Bibb, or was sometimes called limestone lettuce, and it's related to Boston lettuce, except that it's grown in limestone in Kentucky. That was about it. Now, of course, then came arugula and microgreens and mesclun and a whole array of lettuces and greens that have superseded iceberg. But that said, and the kid only eats iceberg, I was going to make him what is a very trendy menu item these days, a wedge of iceberg and I was going to give the kids a choice of dressing. One would be very familiar to them because either you could call it Russian dressing or Thousand Island dressing. In Sicily, a blend of mayonnaise and ketchup is called salsa rossa. So immediately Carlo related. They sort of like gorgonzola. So I thought, I'll make a blue cheese dressing as one of the dressings. And by the way, in my cookbook, New York City Food, there are 2 recipes for dressings. By the way, this book still is available, if I may give myself a plug. I do believe the paperback version, which is identical to the hardcover version, except that it's not in the hardcover, is on Amazon for a reasonable price, even. In any case, I have both Thousand Island dressing and a version of Russian dressing in the book, New York City Food. The Russian dressing is actually, I did not make this for the boys, but maybe I should have. I have all the ingredients in the house. This is from Reuben's restaurant, Reuben's Delicatessen, where they did not invent the Reuben sandwich, but they did put Russian dressing and coleslaw on a corned beef sandwich. That was my mother's favorite way of eating corned beef, was nice amount of coleslaw, and a pretty good amount of Russian dressing. So here's the Russian dressing to put on a wedge of iceberg. No cooking. A half a cup of mayonnaise, a tablespoon of either ketchup or chili sauce. You know, that's a Heinz product, too. It's a spicier version of ketchup. A teaspoon of grated onion, which sounds like a silly amount, but if you take a tiny onion, you're going to see once you grated it on fine side of a box grater, it takes quite a bit of onion to make a teaspoon. You could double this recipe, too, because this only makes about a half a cup, and certainly a cup of this wouldn't be too much for 4 people. A half a teaspoon of horseradish, which actually I keep in the refrigerator almost all the time. It stays for a couple months, and I do like a cold roast beef sandwich with horseradish. A quarter teaspoon of Worcestershire, and a tablespoon of finely chopped parsley. And you just mix it together. Half cup mayonnaise, I would say a really generous tablespoon of ketchup or chili sauce. You can make it a generous teaspoon of grated onion, some horseradish. You can adjust these seasonings to your own taste. For instance, I probably would like a little bit more horseradish. Now, this is an interesting thing. At Reuben's, this is Russian dressing. Besides putting the dressing on sandwiches, at Reuben's they used to serve hard-boiled eggs with this dressing, garnished with salmon roe or caviar, and not really good caviar. Although if you had good caviar, it would be good. I wouldn't put it on Russian dressing, but salmon roe I would, and that was called eggs à la Russe, which I think everybody thought was French, but it was from Reuben's restaurant.
Well, there was always
Thousand Island dressing has a real nice legend attached to it. Actually, there are 3 legends about Thousand Island dressing, and it would take too long to recite them. They're all in my book. But the one that sounds most likely to me, by the way, the book is called An Opinionated History, is the one that the wife of a guide in the Thousand Islands, St. Lawrence guide, used to serve this sauce to go with the fish. That, you know, her husband would take people out fishing. They would bring the fish back. The husband would fry the fish, and the wife would, I don't know what else she served, but she put this dressing on, and it's a cup of mayonnaise. You can see different proportions and different seasoning than the Russian dressing. A cup of mayonnaise, a half a cup of chili sauce or ketchup. I do prefer the chili sauce. A couple tablespoons of finely minced pimento stuffed olives. You think there were fancy olives back in, well, this is like, I don't know what year I'm trying to think here. This would be the late 19th century. No. The only olives that were around were those little cocktail olives with pimento. So chop them up. A tablespoon, I actually have those in the house almost all the time, too. A tablespoon of finely minced green pepper, if you happen to have it around. Don't go out and buy a whole green pepper for a tablespoon. Some minced chives, or you could use scallion greens. And this is very important and easy, a chopped hard-cooked egg. And a couple tablespoons of chopped parsley. That's the real Thousand Island dressing. I on a wedge of iceberg, I don't know. It sounds good to me. Last night we had the iceberg with the other Russian dressing.
How close is French Thousand Island and Russian dressing?
French dressing is something totally different.
Okay.
It's not a mayonnaise-based dressing. It's oil and vinegar and, I guess, ketchup. There's a name for it, in fact. I forget what it is, but there's actually a French name for French dressing. I don't like French dressing.
Yeah.
I mean, no. You know what? Here's one that and actually this recipe is in the book. Peter Luger's steakhouse dressing is a kind of French dressing. It's a little sweet. Anyway, about iceberg. So it became very, plebeian. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a better word. But only the unknowing would eat iceberg lettuce. But I think iceberg is back by me. It never went away. I always like a Greek salad on iceberg. You know, it's interesting. If I get some iceberg with tomato and cucumber in a restaurant, I think, oh, why did they give me this? The part that I enjoy is the iceberg. The tomatoes are invariably horrible. And, okay, I can deal with a slice of cucumber. But that's nothing. But then if I combine it myself, and I either shred or cut into squares the iceberg, very easy to slide. By the way, along with Craig Claiborne's disdain for iceberg came the dictum that you're never supposed to cut lettuce. You're supposed to tear lettuce. But, you know, in the case of iceberg, you cut it, it doesn't bruise. And why did it become so popular after the war, after World War II? It was created in the late 19th century, I forget the farmer, as a head lettuce because it was easy to transport.
Right.
It stays good for days and days. It's also, in this market today, cheap. Even in my fancy store, it was $1.49 a head.
Well, it's also a head. You know, if you notice that growing up, that was a head of lettuce. It looked like
a head of lettuce, right? Exactly.
Romaine
well,
does not
it is
look
a head
like,
lettuce.
I understand, but I just have to say, romaine has never looked like a head of lettuce. It looked like a stalk.
Well, anyway, I do like it in a Greek salad with good tomatoes, cucumber. I season it with oregano, oil, my good oil, and vinegar, and some feta cheese.
Quick question.
To me, that's a wonderful dinner.
It's a fantastic. Can you just give a good Greek? I mean, when I make Greek salad, what do you use for dressing? You just said it.
Listen. I do this without even thinking, and I was doing it without even thinking in front of a friend from Rome, who's a real food fusser and great cook. And he said, "Oh, you're the first person I've ever seen dress a salad the way I dress a salad." So that made me feel real good. So here's what I do. It doesn't matter what the greens are. And I have a salad spoon and fork. It's not really a fork, but, a salad set that I can rely on for measurement. And I do 2 spoons for a big salad, I do 2 spoons of oil, which is really about 2 tablespoons of oil, maybe a drop more. And I toss the greens with the oil. Then I put in my salad mixing spoon, a big pinch of salt, and I pour in a spoonful of red wine vinegar or white wine vinegar or whatever vinegar I want to use that day. Sometimes I have sherry vinegar in the house. I like all of those in a salad. And I with the spoon I sort of stir the salt to dissolve it a little bit in the vinegar, and I let the vinegar fall into the bowl, and then I put in another spoon of vinegar. So I'm using equal parts of oil and vinegar, but you can change this to your taste. We like a vinegary salad. And that's it. And I toss it again. I throw in some freshly ground pepper. That's my salad. And then that's my base, sort of, for everything. The black dress of salad.
Right.
And I always,
black dress.
And I always dress a salad that way. For me to get a wedge of iceberg with some gloppy dressing that I will love anyway, even though I use the pejorative word gloppy, is a novelty. I don't eat that kind of salad very often. But I do like iceberg on a sandwich. It's got crunch and moisture. It is mostly moisture, after all. And this time of the year, the first day that I'm able to turn the stove on, I'm making bacon. There's nothing like a BLT with iceberg lettuce.
Oh, or there's nothing like
on soft bread. I have to add that because these days everybody wants to upgrade to like crunchy bread or this bread or that. I buy my best whole grain sandwich bread, meaning a soft bread. And what else? I don't need toast, but some people like toast. So iced tea. I am staying hydrated here. It's really impossible. It's probably a tad better in the northwest corner than it is here in Brooklyn, because it doesn't cool down at night here either. So I got really bored with water, hydrating. So yesterday I made an enormous quantity of iced tea with lemon verbena, which I bought at the farmer's market, a huge bunch for $2. Of course, I had no use for a huge bunch, so I let it dry, and it's terrific. I've done this before. Dried lemon verbena, you put in a nice amount. I don't know. I made almost 2 liters of iced tea, so as much as this pitcher would hold, and I must have put in 1/4 of a cup at least of lemon and verbena leaves and 4 tea bags, and I let it steep until it was warm, and then it was actually strong enough, so I strained it all, and holding up very well. And ice cream. I'm only going to talk about ice foods today.
It's fair.
Ice cream. So here's my ice cream ugly story. There's an ice cream parlor here in actually Prospect Heights across the avenue called Blue Marble. They've become very famous since they opened this little scooping shop in front of a preschool. They were so poor they had to share the rent with a preschool, which was in the back. But in the front you could get ice cream. So now they're actually, I see, in pint containers in some stores. I don't think it's well distributed yet, but who knows? Maybe they are. They have carts around here at venues where there are events, like I think it's the Delacorte Theater in Central Park. Outside on the street is a Blue Marble cart. And there is an outlet in what is now called Industry City, which, if there are any old Brooklynites in the audience, it used to be called Bush Terminal. And now it's been redeveloped as stores, and on Saturday in one of the buildings, or I should say outside one of the buildings, is a flea market that I went to. Was not much of a flea market, but there were 2, if you ever watch Flea Market Flip, they were shooting 2 segments of Flea Market Flip while I was there. So that was fun to me, since I watched that show. They won't air until the winter, but here we were in the heat of August. In any case, go inside, had a really ordinary hamburger. Wished I was at Burger King instead, because, of course, it was 3 times the price of Burger King. And then we went for a Blue Marble ice cream cone. So we order on the list has it's $5 for a single scoop, which is unfortunately the going rate at these fancy places. I think at my other fancy place, Ample Hills, another Brooklyn thing, it's $4.95, and I think at Haagen-Dazs it's over $4. So anyway, I'll do a $5 ice cream. And then there's a list of $6 ice cream. Not a list. It just says Chef Special, $6. So I asked the clerk, what is a Chef Special? And she said, oh, well, we have some single barrel ice cream, something like that, something silly. Single batch ice cream. We only have that flavor for a day or 2. So I said, oh, which flavors are they? And she said, well, that one. And I forget what it was, but it was something I didn't want. So I ordered a vanilla for me and a coffee for Bob, and the bill was $13. I said, well, wait, how did 2 $5 scoops become $13? And she said, well, it's $1 extra for a cone. And the coffee is a Chef's Special, and that's $6. So I said, give me my money back. I'm not taking your ice cream. But I also, I don't think this is going to do any good, but I had to vent. I reported them to the Department of Consumer Affairs by calling 311, which is our, I don't know what they call it, the city phone number that you can call if you have some problem other than the police. And they're supposed to get back to me. But it seems to me they should be required to have on their sign $1 extra for cones.
Yeah, really.
And then they should also have to indicate which of the flavors that are $6, which they don't. So no Blue Marble ice cream for me. They didn't have my favorite flavor anyway. Meantime, Ample Hills, the competition, I don't love Ample Hills. It's extremely high quality, don't get me wrong. But I'm an old guy who likes smooth flavors. I think this is a generational thing. Young people like stuff, like from Ben & Jerry's. See, I'm a Haagen-Dazs, not a Ben & Jerry's guy, because Ben & Jerry's has too much stuff in the ice cream. And Ample Hills, for me, has too much stuff. However, they do make an extraordinary, I'm not using that word lightly, Belgian chocolate, dense. If you don't like dense chocolate, don't buy this. Ice cream, which on rare occasion, even better, they will be selling soft serve at the original store in Prospect Heights, which is on Vanderbilt Avenue. That's their only outlet that I know of that has the soft serve. However, Ample Hills, and I meant to look up the address before I got on the air, Ample Hills just opened some super-duper factory tasting room and I think tours of ice cream production here in Brooklyn. So, I don't know. Next week I'll tell you where it is. I forgot to look it up. I'm sure in this weather it might be a good time to go because the streets of Brooklyn are bare. Nobody wants to be out in this weather.
They'll all come out. They'll all come out when it. That's sometimes the wonderful thing about September. These are the dog days of August, after all.
Right. Well, I mean, there are hot days in September too, but
there's also that.
Yeah. I guess as you get older, like me, it affects you more. I want to run away in August, not in the winter.
I would agree.
But in the meantime, I didn't even go out yesterday. We had iceberg lettuce in the house.
Well, then you didn't have to, did you?
And we had great tomatoes. So.
Do you ever make ice pops or anything like that?
Yes, but not in years. I buy a product that I'm really fond of. It's an Edie's product. Now I'm going to forget what it's called. Out something?
I don't know, but Edie's ice cream.
Oh, they're in the supermarket. They're really, really good, and they're whole fruit ice pops.
Okay.
I'm not going to. Yeah.
You're not going to.
I told you my granita di limone story, my lemon granita story. Iris gives me this direction to put it in the freezer and shake it every hour. I said, well, it takes all day. And she says, well, in Sicily, we don't have anything to do all day.
That's like my favorite.
I'm watching pigeons is what I'm doing, and it's fascinating to me. We should get our bird watching people to talk to me about pigeons. I've been watching this pair. They're monogamous for life. I've been watching this pair since spring, and now they're on their third, possibly fourth brood. And right now, it looks like some of the babies have come back. I don't know what that's about. The big one, who I'm assuming is the male, chases away other birds, other pigeons. And all these pigeons that I'm looking at right now, perched all around Papa, are the same coloring as Mama and Papa, which is very dark, very black, actually. The Papa's black. So we have, I guess, a particular strain of pigeon in my backyard. They're all black. And if they're not black, they get chased away. Interesting?
Huh, very. All right, we're putting that out to the ornithological aficionados.
Yeah. I mean, somebody knows. I have been. This is my fault. I've been only looking online. It's like looking for recipes online. Not everything is online. So everything I want to know about these pigeons seems not to be online.
And
since I have the main branch of the Brooklyn Public Library across the street from me, I am remiss in not having gone to the library, which is maybe what I'll do today. We have gone to the library a lot lately to get out and escape the heat because it's very well air-conditioned.
So that's a good thought because there aren't a lot of people in there. That is a good idea, and that what you just raised is really important in cooking, in life, and because
not everything's online.
Not everything's online, but the assumption when you're just like not everything's in the supermarket, not everything's on the website. Not every Le Creuset product is on the Le Creuset website, which is really frustrating.
Why?
Why is it frustrating? Because there's a particular thing that I'm looking for, and I just am flat unable to find it.
Tell me what you're looking for.
I'm looking for, I think it's a 6x6 square baking, the little baking. They're not ramekins because they're square.
I just saw this.
Where?
I'll tell you. It was not in a place where I think it was at the new supermarket around the corner, Union Market.
Creuset?
Very high-end market. I mean, I'll measure them, but I'm pretty sure I saw those. I don't know, what color are you looking for?
Red.
Red. You know, they don't make. I have.
They have the cherry. They don't.
Flame red,
Right.
which they used to call. I don't think they make the original flame red color anymore.
I don't think they do either. But the one that I have is very old. I have people. We've got 4 minutes. The person.
Well, I have a white one here that I own.
It's the red one.
It's my Apple baking pan.
Exactly. She keeps making a mistake, and she sends over something. Her husband is a
Who's she?
the woman whose pan this is. Eve.
Oh.
Okay.
Well,
So she
I'm
keeps.
gonna. I will probably be there sometime today because I need bread, and they have a great bread department.
Okay. It has to be. It has to be Le Creuset.
They know that I was. You know, I don't usually look at the housewares in a supermarket, but
Right.
I did. Something caught my eye, and then they caught my eye. I said, "Well, this is a funny place to be selling Le Creuset baking pans." But I think they were there. I don't know how much they were. They were probably too expensive, but you know, if you want it, you want it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they don't have that on their website.
No. But the
Okay.
the
So
point
I will
is.
go. I mean, I don't know if they have red. I think I'm somehow in my brain. I'm thinking blue and yellow, but.
Is the blue
But they may have red too, and if they don't have red, I could ask, could you get red?
Yes, and that would be very interesting. But the point is, a lot of high end places don't put that stuff on their websites.
Well, they want you to go into a retail store, or maybe they have a deal with the retailers. You know, like this is something that'll only exclusively in the retail stores.
Yep.
You know,
But
you should maybe try eBay.
the bigger point. I've got my own eBay here. I've hijacked her pan and it's in my house. I don't need eBay. I just need to not give it back. Come on.
All right. I don't know what we're eating today, but
It's going to be cold.
it's even worse. It's going to be ice. The first word will be ice.
All right.
There's vichyssoise,
Oh.
but then you got to turn the heat on to cook it.
Right, you got to do the
Before you
potatoes.
chill it.
Right.
See, that's a lot problem. I have like 30 seconds left, but I did have lunch company on Saturday. And what I did was I cooked pasta early in the morning before it got too hideous. And I dressed it with my new Asian dressing and peas and scallions and served it cold from the refrigerator. And everybody, by the way, 4 people who don't eat that much finished off a pound of pasta. So it was a hit. I also had roast chicken, which, next week.
Right, next week.
What to do with a rotisserie chicken.
All right.
All right.
Loved
Have a
all.
great.
Thank you.
Keep cool.
You too.
You too. Arthur Schwartz, the Food Maven, here on Robin Hood Radio. Underwriting support for Arthur Schwartz, the Food Maven, from Hathaway Young, located on South Center Street in Millerton. Flawless catering and event planning, hathawayyoung.com. John Andrews Restaurant on the Hillsdale Road in South Egremont, 413-528-3467. And on the web, jarestaurant.com. Rubiners Cheesemongers and Grocers on Main Street in Great Barrington, 413-528-0488, rubiners.com. In Hillsdale, New York, Hillsdale Home Chef with 2 beautiful teaching classes, and they've got classes to go in those cooking rooms. More information, 518-325-7000, hgshomechef.com. And Haven Cafe in Lenox, Massachusetts, offering quality food and excellent service, from a fresh cup of great coffee to healthy, delicious breakfast, or sit down with the dinner with a tasty, life-enhancing meal that you can take home. Also, they feature catering, supporting local organic farmers, environmentally conscious, and epicurious distributors, havencafebakery.com.